What's up, everybody? We are back with an About the Fans post-game show. Miami versus Clemson. Miami beats Clemson 28-20. Didn't see that coming, especially with Tyler Van Dyke out. As always, I got Petrie with me. We got Mike, truthfully Mike, as you guys know him on Twitter. Boys, how we doing?
Man, pumped, bro. Pumped. I mean, Clemson, I hate Clemson the most out of any team in the country, bro. They're ahead of Florida State for me because that's an in-state rival for my Gamecocks too. So I get to talk shit, double the amount of time now.
Love it.
I love it,
I'm
bro.
I'm definitely juiced. I made a little joke about if Kinchins was to make a game sealing interception, so to speak, that I was going to personally drive myself to Miami and buy illicit drugs to do myself tonight. But at this point, the way I'm feeling, I might not need the illicit drugs. I'm feeling great.
I love it. I love it. So let's get into it. First story of the day. Let's talk quarterbacks. Because obviously kind of came out, the whispers on social media came out this morning that, Tyler Van Dyke might not be playing. Turned out it was game time decision. Maybe we'll see. I mean, it seems like everyone knew that it was a no well before the game started. And then Emory Williams plays. He was very efficient with, economical. We'll call him economical today. Wasn't given a very long leash, but, he guides us to a win, throws a touchdown pass, his very first start ever. So let's talk about Emory, guys. What are knee-jerk reactions?
Like,
Man, so I was hounding him on Twitter for 3 quarters, bro. I mean, no lie. I mean, you guys saw it, Jordan. I text you about it.
Yeah.
I mean, his throwing motion is wow, bro. It's slow, and I was a little concerned. I was like, man, even if we have a receiver open, is he gonna buy himself enough time to even get the throw off? But man, he picked it up when it counted, bro. Some of the deep throws that he was making were on the fucking money, bro. Like, I mean, they were on point. We had some drop balls that, I thought were gonna go our way, but that happens. And then, that TD at the end was magic. So I can't be mad at how he started. I mean, he's a true freshman, and then that's a pressure environment with the best defense statistically in the ACC, and just based on the line that he had, man, he balled out. So and he didn't throw like, we've been concerned the past few weeks, man, with TVD just going to Restrepo like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
He was trying to spread the ball around. So that tells me that, one, he probably heard the noise and he came into the game and tried to spread the ball around and try to take a look at everybody that was open. And, I think he tried his best, bro. He put out some decent throws, bro. So decent start.
So I'm a big believer. I'm a big proponent in Emory Williams. So maybe this take has some bias to it. I felt like in the first half, I mean, obviously his play production spoke for itself. But I felt like he was kind of being kneecapped a little bit by Shannon Dawson. I mean, the reason why his yards per attempt was so catastrophically bad was because we were throwing bubble screens every single play, right? And so, if you're not really throwing the ball downfield, you can't really expect to have really great passing numbers. However, I genuinely think that once we started to open it up as the game kind of needed it, we needed to throw the ball a little bit more. I felt like Emory was making all the throws that he needed to. Had a few dimes that he threw. He underthrew that long ball to Colby, but still made it a competitive ball and came up with a first down. So, all things considered, I'm actually pretty encouraged at Emory's performance today.
Yeah, and same for me too. You mentioned the yards per attempt, which a lot of times when you see such a low yards per attempt, your mind tends to think, okay, well, he probably had a pretty bad completion percentage. Maybe he took a couple strikes downfield, a couple picks. Maybe it wasn't such a good situation, but it really was a product of all the bubble screens because he had a very, very high completion percentage. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it was a very good completion percentage, and yet still a god awful yard per attempt because of the play calling. He was very much handcuffed, kneecapped, whatever you want to call it. Dawson played it very conservative. Now he is a true freshman, but so these things happen. You're not going to be airing it out. Now we're not going to call him Joe Burrow just yet, but he played a great fucking game. He played a great game. I liked it.
Yeah, man. I mean, his longest pass was 25 yards, but I mean, I think Young dropped the long one that was like 40 plus, and that should have been completed.
Yeah,
and for what it's worth, that one interception was not his fault. I want to say Jacoby George either bailed on the route or maybe he went a different direction. That one interception was not his fault.
Yeah, he was 24 for 33, 151, one TD, one pick.
Yeah, I think Dawson needed to trust him a little more. I actually think we would have won this game pretty handily if there was more trust in Emory earlier in the game. Because I thought, I mean, we went from Mike, we were texting during the game that with AB that it's like, oh, Clemson just scored more than 7 points. Like, we might be in trouble here. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to score much more than 7 points. And we ended the game with 28. So it just goes to show. I mean, Emory gave us 3 touchdowns in the second half and overtime, and I got to be happy with it.
If we want to talk about the game straight up, I'm not going to give us 28 because that accounts for OT. So you kind of got to look at it from an analytical standpoint in terms of 4 quarters. Really should have had 22 points. I know one of those was, it should have been a safety, right?
Yeah.
But really should have been a straight up 22-20 win for the Canes. So
yeah. So another player I want to talk about. Well, actually, let's stick on quarterbacks for a sec. So how do you think the team approaches the Tyler Van Dyke quarterback situation? Do you think it's as clean cut as like if he's healthy, we're rolling with him 100% going forward?
So I would say that if Tyler Van Dyke is perfectly healthy, that they would probably go back to TVD. However, something that kind of jumped out at me tonight, and maybe this isn't a big deal, maybe I'm reading too far into it, but TVD didn't even dress tonight. He wasn't wearing pads or anything. So even in a emergency kind of situation, they were not even thinking about Van Dyke here. So if there's any kind of a question about Van Dyke's health, they're sticking with Emory. And if Van Dyke's perfectly healthy, which we understand that he's not, then they would probably go back to TVD in that situation.
Yeah, and I guess last thoughts on Emory. I know some people on Twitter were calling for Jakari Brown. Excuse me. And,
and I'm going to laugh every time.
I get it. Jakari, because I think the point people were making was like, if we're just going to throw screens and run the ball, like at least have Jakari in there as an option threat.
I get that.
I totally get that argument. However, my response to that would be, but the problem is at some point in the game, you might have to throw the football. And that's exactly what happened in this game. Came down, fourth quarter, we had to start throwing the football a little bit, and Emory was putting it on the money. So I think everyone, was a little more comfortable with Emory throwing those balls more than Jakari, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we win this game if Jakari is quarterback.
Funny we bring this up because he started the Clemson game last year, and we had 100 yards of total offense.
Yeah. So
I wonder about Jakari. I like him as a player. I like his personality, but I really wonder if there's some kind of a fundamental issue that the coaching staff is seeing, whether it be playbook, whether it be accuracy. I don't know. But technically speaking, going into today, even with Emery's snaps earlier in the season, Jakari was the more experienced quarterback, more reps, more opportunities to throw the ball. So he was the more experienced quarterback coming into the day and a year older. So you sit there and you go, what in the world would be leading them to make this kind of a decision? There must be some kind of a fundamental issue with why they're not putting Jakari in these positions.
I do hope, like, let's hypothetically say that this Van Dyke injury is a little more prolonged. Like if Emery's getting the start next week, I would hope that they at least have a Jakari Brown package, almost as like a Wildcat type package where we're putting him in there on obvious running downs, where we can at least give the defense a little bit of hesitation or second guessing that he might tuck it and run a different direction.
Yeah. And even on this level, Jakari's extremely talented. So when you say it's an obvious running down, yes, it does mean that the defense might load the box and bring a bunch of guys up near the line of scrimmage. But you put the football in, your best player's hands. We know it's a running down. He's got that kind of skill set, physical strength, and athleticism and speed. So sometimes talent trumps the strategy by the defense.
Yeah, and I highly doubt if, I can't remember who we play next. Let me check the schedule. Virginia. If Virginia watched this game at all, they're probably going to be stacking the box on first and second down if Emery's starting, just based on our play calling, So
to that point, Virginia just beat their first top 10 team on the road.
That was Virginia they're beating tonight
in program history.
Yeah.
And we need some dominoes to fall our way, but we can creep into the ACC championship, but we need some L's to happen. And North Carolina needs to take another L. We got to beat Louisville. We got to beat Florida State. We got to win out from here on to even have a chance. So, that UVA win at UNC tonight was shocking. That was a shocker, bro. I think they were a 17 or I think it might have been 20+ point underdog in that game, man.
Yeah.
Almost as embarrassing as losing to Georgia Tech, honestly.
Facts, bro. I agree with that because they were at home too, Petrie. So, and we just went there and took a nasty L. Well, it was close on the scoreboard, but it was a nasty L.
Yeah, and I think whether it's more embarrassing or not depends on it's embarrassing to lose because you're an idiot, or is it more embarrassing to lose because you got beat, right? Because we didn't get beat by Georgia Tech. They just got beat by Virginia, but we still got a loss. So that's also incredibly embarrassing. But I don't know.
Real quick sidebar, just like while you're saying that, Nick Saban was on the Pat McAfee show earlier this week, and this is Nick Saban. Hello. He's pretty good. I don't know if you heard about him. He was explaining the difference between getting beaten versus technically having a loss. There is a difference between these two things. There's a difference between hey, they won because they're the better football team versus technically by way of how things occurred, they had more points at the time when it was all zeros at the end. There's a difference between losing and getting beaten. And a lot of people on Kane's Twitter, are going to say, "Oh, you're making excuses, this and that." I'm like, I don't know. Nick Saban, 7-time national champion. I think he might. I don't know if he's making excuses. I think he knows a thing or two. He gets all the number one recruiting classes. There is a difference between losing and getting beaten. Let's call it like it is.
Yeah, but every time Nick loses, though, Petrie, he goes to that argument. That's his problem.
And I'm going to go to that argument, too. Whatever. I'm like Nick Saban. Give me my flowers, please.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to the next player I wanted to highlight. Also a true freshman. There's a true freshman heavy show tonight. Mr. Reuben Bain Jr., Hurricane Bain, as some call him. Wow, what a performance.
Yeah, we need to start calling him first-round draft pick Bain. That's what we need to start calling him.
Let me ask you guys a question that I asked my Twitter feed. How many players on the entire roster are better than Hurricane Bain right now?
I like Kinchins overall. And now I'm trying to think about on the offensive side of the football.
So most people said 0. And
None. Okay.
I'm, maybe I'm a little caught up in the moment, but man, you heard his name every 2 or 3 plays on defense tonight.
He said he was tired of losing. He said that last week, didn't he? He said, I'm sick of fucking losing. All right.
Well, I mean, honestly, if he
Went
didn't
out and
play
made a
tonight,
statement tonight.
if he didn't play tonight, we probably lose this game.
Ain't no probably about it. We lose.
Yeah.
If Ruben Bain escapes to Georgia or Alabama or whatever the other schools that were up in his final 3 or 5 of recruitment or whatever, if he goes to one of those other schools, we lose that game tonight. No doubt about it.
Yeah. I think he was the most impactful player on either team tonight, the most impactful player to play tonight. I think the only other guy that could get a mention was Clemson's tight end. Can't think of his last name. That kid's good.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say something about a tight end on our team. What tight end?
Yeah. I actually don't even know. Do we have tight ends?
Hey, I will say, Kinchin's had an early pick, and it was a very nice, footwork, ballerina kind of move on the sidelines, good footwork. Yeah. And I've said this about Kinchin's before. I will continue to say it. He's got wide receiver technical skills. He's got the hands of a wide receiver, and he's got the footwork of a wide receiver. He just happens to play defense. I'm not going to call him I'm not going to say Sean Taylor, but that was something that a lot of people said about Sean Taylor was like, why is this guy not playing offense? Well, because he also likes to knock your head off of your shoulders. And Kinchin's knows how to lay the hammer, drops the shoulder, and puts you into the ground for real. Yeah, and he just likes playing defense. But he's got the hand skills and footwork of a polished wide receiver.
Yeah. And that's a good analysis on him, bro.
Yeah. And for the record, back to my question, I think Kinchin's is the first name off the board. If we're talking who's the best player, it's probably, Kinchin's comes up, but then you got guys like Bain, you got Williams, James Williams, you got Matt Lee in there, that type of stuff.
James Williams is probably the best athlete on the team.
Yeah.
He's also the best at being worried about what the hoes are doing on the fucking timeline. You know what I'm saying? He's worried about who's texting, who's selfies, and things of that nature. I'm glad he played a solid game tonight because he was going to catch this work from Canes fans. After that thing, it was just about 2 hours before the game, and he's talking about, oh, I wish a pretty girl was sending me selfies. Brother, if you guys beat Clemson, you're going to have all the pussy in Miami thrown in your face, okay? Leave it. Stop worrying about the girls. Stop worrying about the little girlies texting
Carolina too.
Yeah, well, stop worrying about the little girlies texting you, bro. You got NFL aspirations, right? Stop worrying about these little girlies that average 15 to 20 likes on their Instagram posts, okay? Nobody's worried about that.
Amen. Oh, man. Yeah, but Ruben Bain, hats off to you, my friend. Amazing game tonight.
Great game.
Game ball would go to Bain tonight, if just to be clear on that. I'm not mincing any kind of words on this. Kinchin, I'm very impressed, and James Williams played a great game. But the game ball tonight has to go to Ruben Bain. Come on.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying you're wrong, Petrie. I was just saying I got maybe 8 or 9 replies that said 0. I got one that said 1, Cam Kinchin's, and I got one that said 3, and it was James Williams, Cam Kinchin's, Matt Lee. And I think that's a great list, but the only reason I brought the question up was to highlight Ruben Bain, true freshman, arguably best player on this football team.
And he also does not look like a true freshman. Okay. Emory Williams out there, he does look small. He looks small relative to the competition around him. Even Maui Noah, who's put on a lot of muscle, he does look relatively small because he's a freshman. Let's be real. He's 18, 19 years old, was playing high school ball a year ago. Ruben Bain looks like he could be an NFL player tomorrow afternoon for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. If I heard the broadcast correctly, they said that Ruben Bain, since enrolling in Miami, has gained 125 pounds on his bench press in 10 months. I believe that because he was throwing that right tackle around all night.
Like a rag doll.
He's a monster, man.
Just don't test him. I'm just kidding. If that number's true, I'm just kidding.
He said he was tired of losing, man. He's tired of losing.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he was throwing the right tackle around all night like a rag doll. I love it. I love it.
He's a monster, bro.
Yeah. So I want to touch on coaching real quick. Let's talk Coach Dawson and the offense. So, we talked about Emory at length. We gave it the context it deserves, I think. How are we feeling about the way that Coach Dawson handled tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back to I think the second half was a little better because he kind of opened up the playbook a little bit for Emory, but the running game was on point tonight, man.
Yeah.
We used a lot of different backs, we had over 200 yards, so I mean, we had to play conservative somewhat, man. We couldn't, we couldn't open it up like we were saying at the beginning of the show because we didn't even know what the game was going to look like. You're going versus one of the top 5 defense in the country on paper. That was until, they played us. And, for the first half, I mean, it was a low scoring game, man. I think I picked the over on this game, this morning. And I was surprised, that we didn't break more runs the way that we were controlling the run game. But that 80-yarder was nice, though, bro.
Yeah, very nice.
I mean, we've been waiting on one of those for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And where has Brashard Smith been? Come on, I'm glad that he finally got worked into the offense. I will give Dawson and also Mirabal credit for having the offense and the offensive line ready to go in a game where it was Emory Williams starting. He had a nice little game, but let's be real, he is a true freshman starting his first ever game.
Yeah.
Clemson is smart enough to know that he's not going to be airing it out. He's not Josh Allen. He's not going to be throwing the ball all over the field, okay?
Yeah.
So everybody knew that, and yet the offense, while conservative, yes, we can, call it what it is, and it's definitely conservative. It was executed well. It was executed fine for a true freshman starting quarterback, making his first start against, as Mike said, one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah. So I think we're all, whether it was Twitter, we covered it earlier, the critique of the idea of what Dawson was doing tonight. But, I was just thinking, playing devil's advocate with myself, just thinking, maybe he was using the first half to just set Emory up with the confidence to make that second half happen, because, I mean, I don't know exactly what Emory's box score stats were going into halftime, but you have to imagine his completion percentage was pretty high.
Yeah, it was. I just saw the graphic on ACC Network. He was 10 for 14, but the yardage was low, right?
Yeah.
But then the second half, he was 14 for 17 for 120 with that TD, bro. I mean, dog, I'm trying to remember the last true freshman first game, night game versus a defense like that we've had in the past 20 years, that they weren't on the opposite side killing us.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the last time we had one that just showed up second half and delivered a win like that. Usually we take an L when a true freshman starts for us.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got the nod in my book. I was talking trash all game about him with you on Twitter. And I'm one of those fans, man. If I put something out there and, they prove me wrong at the end of the game like that, I'm definitely going to be like, yo, I was tripping because he showed out. And he did, man. I mean, that TD was nice, bro. I know the wide receiver had to get space, jump around a little bit to get the ball, but his throws were money, bro.
Yeah.
They might have come out slow as hell. I mean, on TV, it looks like he's just it's weird, man. He's definitely not Dan Marino, you know what I'm saying? With the throwing arm.
Yeah.
But every ball was almost, except for one that I saw, could have been contested. And he didn't throw it to the damn defensive back, like we've been seeing for the past couple of weeks, just floating around in traffic with 3 people around. He wasn't trying to force receivers the ball. And I know some of that had to do with the play calling we had with the short passes, But he showed out, bro. Like some of those deep balls, I was impressed with his strength on throwing as well too.
Well, and I appreciate the mental aspect because a lot of the big plays that he had were to Colby Young. But awesome. Like you have a really good 6'5" wide receiver at your disposal. Yeah, throw him some jump balls.
Yeah, bro.
Throw him some jump balls, put it in a spot where he can go get it. Throw him the fade route in the end zone. That big third down where he underthrew him a little bit and Colby went up and got it and brought it down contested. Like, sure.
Hey, Petrie, before you say anything, let me put something in the air right now while we're talking about this. Dabo said in a presser earlier this week that our quarterback, which he was talking about TBD, and I don't know if you guys caught this, likes to concentrate on one guy. The same thing we've been complaining about for weeks now, if not the entire season, right? And I feel like that the game plan wasn't to, I don't think they told our boy to not focus on Restrepo or anything like that. I just think naturally he just shared the ball well.
Yep.
And it went against what Dabo said in the presser. I'm not saying he just wanted to lock down Restrepo the whole game because he thought that's what we were going to do. Yep. But the run game was working. It opened up the game for the true freshman, bro, and he delivered. So I don't care if it went to overtime. If we would have went to 7 overtimes and we would have won in 7 overtimes, I would be saying the same thing. That was a hard-fought win for a true freshman.
Yeah. And I'm definitely with you on that. It did feel like it all came organically. It seemed very, very smooth for him, not really forcing the ball to certain receivers in tough spots. It seemed like he got to his first read if it was open, but he decided to move it around if it needed to be done when they decided to actually throw the ball. Now, I will say, I don't want to keep ringing off the walls of the echo chamber here, but I said in the first half, I said, number one, it does seem like they're trying to protect Emory Williams' confidence. Number two, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Number three, it can become bad if you don't try to spread it around a little bit. Like you're going to have to take some strikes. You got to do something like that. But it all felt very natural for him. He's going to struggle in a normal kind of capacity just because he's very young. He was playing high school ball a year ago against a bunch of kids that are at community college, studying to get their marketing degree now. You know what I mean? They're a bunch of guys that aren't playing D1 ball and might go to the NFL in another year or two. So obviously the struggles are going to be apparent. So anybody who is expecting him to just walk in here and beat Ken Dorsey, I'm sorry to tell you that you would have been mistaken if you had that assessment before the game.
Well, my assessment during the game, Petrie, was that I can't believe somebody called him the top 15 pocket passer in the country last year. But
Emory,
I got proven maybe somewhat otherwise. The win is there. He played well. You know what I'm saying? I would have to see a lot more out of him to change my opinion on some of the stuff that I mentioned. But he managed the game well. There was one pick, not 3, right? And there were.
And I'm not putting. Like I said, I'm not putting that pick on him. A couple of those ugly ones that you said when you say 3 picks, a couple of those ones that you're referring to were exclusively on the quarterback.
They were fugly, yeah, and definitely, it was just airing it out. Oh, let's see what happens, and then pick. But he managed the game well. They let him manage the game well. They mixed in the runs, but it wasn't what I've been complaining about for weeks, which is run up the middle 3 times until the end when the crowd was booing because of the clock management issue. We ran it and then just let the clock run out with a timeout. But they let him kind of learn the flow of the game as being a starter, and I think that if we have to use him anytime for the remainder of the year, man, I think that the fan base is a little bit more calm knowing, hey, we got somebody that can deliver some management on the field, can spread the ball around, and maybe just maybe not make like critical mistakes throwing the ball, man. So that I think that puts us in a good spot.
I like that you use the word management because a lot of people are looking at Emory and they're seeing pretty tall-ish white guy, and they're thinking he's going to come in there and just be similar to Tyler Van Dyke. Funny enough, their playing styles are very, very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying this. Tyler Van Dyke is a beer and peanuts kind of guy. Strong arm, decent accuracy. He's going to get it down the field. He's going to make some good reads, first and second reads, but he's not really going to pick you apart, right? Emory Williams, a little bit more of a concise, between the ears kind of quarterback. He wants to look around the field. Now, granted, again, I'm not trying to judge his whole entire career off of just tonight. He was making a true freshman start against Clemson, so it's hard to really rush to judgment on that one. But anybody that was thinking that he was going to be TVD and just be slinging the ball all over the field willy-nilly, that's not the kind of quarterback that he is. He's more of a meticulous, pick-you-apart style kind of player. And I think we touched on it a little bit earlier in the show where we're saying it felt natural that Emory was spreading it around and getting different receivers involved in these situations. He's more of a meticulous kind of, thoughtful kind of quarterback, and that's just not the way Tyler Van Dyke operates. Neither one of these has to be good or bad, but they're different styles of quarterback. Let's not act like they're the same person here. He's not going to just step in and be Tyler Van Dyke.
That's facts. I agree. I'm with you 100%.
So, Mike, you brought up what I want to talk about next. The decision to let the clock run out at the end of the game, to let the clock run out in regulation, and opt for overtime as opposed to trying to get a field goal. So I tweeted about it as it happened. I was just thinking, I understand the rationale. We had been running the ball very effectively. So surprisingly, we didn't have a ton of long runs. We had the 80-yarder. Other than that, it was very piecemeal but effective. It was like 4 yards every single time. And you win a lot of football games if you get 4 yards a run. So we were running effectively. The defense was killer tonight. And so I understood where Mario was coming from, is he's thinking we got the home crowd, we got the defense. Our quarterback is arguably playing better than their quarterback, and we're going to run the ball effectively every time we try to do it. It's exactly what we did, and we got the win in overtime. But, man, that decision, if it went sideways, would have looked pretty ugly. And so what were your guys' thoughts on that?
Bro, I blew up, man. You can't be in that, and I bet you guys agree with me on this. Even if we won, we won the game, but even so, we had 1:20 on the clock, and we had a timeout left. We ran that entire last minute down, bro, like we had a lead. And you just that made no sense to me at all, man. Even if everything you're saying is exactly true, Jordan, I don't think you run a football game at the last minute like that, man. You go for a field goal or something like that. You start chucking down. What's the worst that can happen? You got to get back on defense. You just said that the defense was playing great.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a little bit of last minute disaster emergency planning going on, right? From Georgia Tech, where they just started thinking, damn, we really don't want to F this up right here. So we might have a better chance of dueling this out on a back and forth type overtime and seeing if we can get the ball in there. That overtime could have went either way, man. Yeah. And that's the scary part, is you're not giving a top 3 kicker in the nation an opportunity to kick a long one. He was money all night too. Shout out to him, because he's been saving us as far as tic-tac field goals, trying to stay in the game, tie the game, or take a short lead all season. And I thought for a second, hey, give our QB a chance for a couple.
Now, Mike, I don't want to step on you. I just want to make sure we get the kicker's name, because you didn't say the kicker's name. I wrote it down here. Spanish names are very difficult. Sometimes they're very long. So I want to make sure I get this right. Okay, I have Andres Ice Water Cash Money Horsecock Borregales. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's fast, man.
Is that?
Yeah.
Did I get that one right? I want to make sure the pronunciation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the whole name I got.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I had that one right for the people at home. People, keeping track of the players. We want to make sure that we have that right. Andy Icewater Cash Money Horsecock Boregalis. All right, there we go.
Right.
All right.
It's a
love
good
that.
name.
Should have
That's a good name.
had an opportunity
That's
at the
a
end.
that's a
40.
strong
I
name.
mean, he's like what? I think I heard a stat tonight, man. I mean, 47 out of 53 in his career or something like that, bro. Listen, you're gonna kick.
And he's a second year. He's a second
I
or
know.
third. He's not even like in the later parts of his career.
Yeah.
So if you get to an opportunity where you can try a 58, 59, 60 yarder with this cat with 15 seconds left, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You try those shots, man. You don't have to be like ultra conservative at this point with the way we were managing that clock. We had a full timeout, bro. You wasted an opportunity to take a timeout. You can at least use that and then talk about overtime if that's your plan.
Yeah.
But don't waste the damn timeout, bro. That's some Steve Spurrier shit.
Yeah. And
so don't, you just it really pissed me off to the point where I was just like, bro, I was thinking the same track you guys were thinking on is if we F up this OT and we lose this game, it's going to be the only thing that we go back and talk about it. Nothing else would matter at that point. Like, I can't believe we blundered the damn last chance. We had the ball with the timeout and we played it for overtime.
Yeah.
Well, I was pissed.
One thing I want to know is so I think it was like a bubble screen that we threw to the left, and was tackled with about 40 seconds left, if I'm remembering that correctly. And we didn't even go no huddle. No, it was when Don Chaney got a first down. We didn't even go no huddle. The announcers were just like confused beyond belief, and we wasted 20 seconds. And so I was thinking, like, does Emory not know how to do no huddle offense yet? That was the first thing I thought. Like, I
saw the huddle kind of going on. I was like, they gotta break this huddle pretty soon here. They're running low on the play clock. Like, they gotta break this huddle if they're serious about calling a play. And then I was like, oh, they're not gonna call a play.
Yeah.
So that's what's really tough about it, because the decision felt very cerebral, which you're okay with that. Like when you play cerebral and you play the strategy like you're trying to play chess, the other team's playing checkers. Dabo might not really know how to play tic-tac-toe. I'm not sure how smart he is.
You're crazy.
But when you try to go cerebral, you're going to win because you're playing the percentages. You're making the smart decisions. That's going to work out a lot of times. But in the instances like Jordan, like you said, when it doesn't work out, you big brain yourself and you fuck the whole thing up. You mess it up. So I was a little bit nervous that was what we were doing until I remembered the college overtime rules where you start on basically the goal line. And then I was like, oh, it makes a little bit sense. You want to give your freshman quarterback start on the 25. Hey, we're throwing anywhere from 15 to 20, 25, 28 kind of yard passes.
Steps,
you know what I'm saying? I'm not expecting Emory Williams, the baby face assassin, to go 85 yards, 80, 75 something yards against Clemson. Like, let's be respectful. They are a good defense, right? I'm not expecting him to do that. But then I was like, oh, wait, we are starting that ball on the 25-yard line. I feel pretty good about this. And what do we do in 2 OTs? Field goal and a touchdown with the 2-point conversion. Hello? You want to call that a successful red zone offense, right?
Bet.
And to both of y'all's credit, which you both brought up individually earlier a little bit in the show, relying on the defense, who was playing tremendously well up to that point. And what did they do? 1 field goal. So, hey, we'll call that a wash, right? With ours. And then they held them 4 downs straight up on that second overtime, right? So the defense was playing very well. Dare I say, the better defense that was on the field today.
Absolutely.
I told you, Jordan, QB sneak or a QB run was going to happen if they brought that big back in. They left Shipley in, and I was like, this is going to be a pass. And then they did exactly the opposite, and they ran the QB to the sideline. And I was like, oh, this is over.
Yeah.
You're not doing that tonight.
Yeah.
I saw that. I saw that run, and I saw like you're talking about the last play of the game. I saw that like Klubnik was rolling outside, and I saw Corey Flagg biting on it. And I was like, no, dude, there's got to be a receiver releasing. There's got to be a receiver that's releasing. And I'm like, holy shit, there's not a receiver releasing. They're actually really running this ball right now with Klubnik. Game over. I didn't even really worry about, him breaking the tackle. Klubnik's not getting away from a guy like Flagg, especially moving towards the sideline. You're going to push him out of bounds, worst case scenario. So I wasn't even tripping, but I really did think for a second, I was like, they're going to release a wide receiver or a tight end.
Same.
I was thinking while we were talking, and just had me cracking up a little bit because of the irony. So if we could just go back to that last play, right? So if the coaching staff had decided like we're going to clock this and go to overtime, why didn't we take a knee instead of running the ball at midfield?
I knew he was going to bring that shit up.
That's not.
I knew
Jordan,
one of y'all.
You're asking ridiculous questions, brother. That's not in the playbook.
Yeah, bro. What is a knee, though?
The knee is not in the playbook. Understand that.
We don't do that.
Clemson had a timeout.
We don't take knees in Coral Gables, bro.
I know Clemson had a timeout. What if we fumbled on that last run?
We don't practice knees.
Gosh.
We don't practice knees in Green Tree, bro. No.
Dude, our coaching staff is weird, bro.
I'm not trying to be like biased and spin it too much, but that just goes to show you that they don't give a shit about how we lost at Georgia Tech. Yeah. Play the game, the whole way through, run the ball. We're not taking knees. We're not doing it.
So I tweeted about this earlier before the game, with the whole debacle with the TVD injury, all this stuff. And I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Our coaching staff is weird. And I actually think I like the three main dudes. I like Mario. I really like Lance Guidry. I think he's fantastic. I think our defense is stellar this year. And I like Shannon Dawson for the most part. I think he's considerably better than recent options. Mark Richt, Dan Enos, and can't think of who we had last year. I can picture his face. Yep, Josh Gaddis. So he's definitely better than those guys. But isn't there just weird vibes? The things like not kneeing the ball at all?
Yeah, well,
that's weird.
So the Georgia Tech game is going to be a weird vibe until we make it to next year, bro. That shit is going to stick with us until we figure out what the hell's happening with the rest of the ACC.
That might be a weird vibe 3, 4, 5 years from now, brother. That one's gonna be a tough one for a while.
You're right, bro. Like I'm gonna be talking about that when we get down to Louisville for the Louisville game, Jordan.
Imagine we're like like a half game off of like North Carolina or like Florida State at the end, and then you're sitting there, you're like, "Yo, what if we had that Georgia Tech game?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get you, but the fact that we're still not kneeing the ball, that raised my eyebrows a little bit.
That's hilarious, bro. I was thinking the same thing, Petrie. Like, what if it comes down to like that one knee, dog, like for an ACC championship, bro? Like, I'm gonna be wilding.
Now, Jordan, I'm with you on it because and you're an analytical kind of guy, so you're sitting there going like, hey, one knee, we're out of there, clean money, no problem, right? Now, back and I'm going to hedge this right at the front and say this was my like little fraternity thing back in college. So we were a bunch of dumbass, drunk 19 to 21-year-olds. We had an expression, and it was NPS, right? And that meant no pussy shit. No pussy shit. We're not taking knees, Jordan. We're not taking knees, Jordan.
That's what Mario said.
Run the ball. No.
That's what Mario said in the huddle, Petrie, at Georgia Tech. NPS, bro. What play we playing? NPS.
There was people that were trying to say, hey, we're trying to read the lips. What does it look like he's saying to Dawson? What does it look?
Yeah.
And I was like, it looked to me like he was like, trying to cover his mouth. He was like, no pussy shit.
But also, the weirdness with Mario, like he tries to mic drop or he tries to dunk on Susan earlier in the week in that press conference about TVD's injury.
And then he
doesn't even dress today. Are you kidding me? Dude, it's weird. It's weird. Our coaching staff is legitimately weird.
Susan,
I think he takes
finally.
He takes playing it close to the chest very, very seriously. That much is evident. Now, I don't want to go, deep dive this whole kind of thing. I will say he is Cuban. A lot of Hispanic men, very proud, machismo. They want to be like correct and right and strong. So, hey, maybe he's sitting there going like, I don't want everybody knowing what we got going on. He wants to make sure we keep it in house, keep it within the family. And that's a traditional thing for a lot of Hispanic men. I don't really see a problem with it. And fuck Susan anyway.
About the Fans just lost every Cuban customer we've ever had, bro.
No fucking way. No, they just went up on the subscriptions. Jesus, they went up. They just ordered 10 fucking hats because they're like, you're goddamn right I keep it in the family. You're damn right.
Hey, man, Jordan, keep me away from Petrie when I come down for the Louisville game, bro. He's trouble, dog. I'm going to have too much fun down there, bro. I promise you.
Oh, I love it.
Because I was talking about like Susan earlier. A lot of people were like, everybody owes Susan an apology. Oh,
not really.
They were like, she's just doing her job. She doesn't work for the University of Miami. And I was like, you're goddamn right. She doesn't work for the University of Miami. We don't have to like her.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so when you air out the family's dirty laundry to all the other neighbors,
yeah,
and then the other neighbors are using that against you. Hello, Clemson. Just saying, right?
And that's fair. I think that is a fair rebuttal to that whole episode. However, I maintain that this coaching staff is weird so far. It's just weird. Yeah. And weird doesn't have to mean bad. I'm not saying that it's, the sky's not falling. I don't want anyone fired. I like all three of these dudes, and I think that they're doing a good job this year. The fact that it's so weird makes me a little worried.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to go away until we start winning consistently, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it just every week. I mean, I called for the L tonight, and I don't do that publicly, bro. Yeah. And they proved me wrong. I called for an L at UNC. I called an L tonight, and I'm calling for the L at Florida State. And I'm just thinking now, it's like, hey, man, baby steps. It's just the Miami way to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I never call L's like that, but we came out on top tonight with a manageable game from a freshman quarterback. And believe me, when I heard TBD was out, I was just like, all right, wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's over.
I know I talked about betting lines with both of you today after that. And I texted one of my friends who, he's not a Miami fan. He lives here. He's a big BYU fan. And he's hitting me up about, how he should bet Miami the last 2 weeks. And I texted him this morning. I'm like, dude, TBD's not playing, bro. Like, feast on that +3 that -3 while you still got it.
I mean, it's just the natural way to do things, bro. I mean, I just wasn't expecting 150 something yards, very, very minimum on the turnovers. The defense was so on point that it made the 300 plus yards passing for Clemson look like nothing. Yeah. And I mean, bro, like other than the blunder at the last minute of the game that could have been worse than Georgia Tech. It was a great overall experience for the true freshman, bro. Like, and he delivered when he had to, and you couldn't have sold me on that pregame, bro, at all.
Now, what I will say was weird though, leading up to the game, and because Jordan, we texted about this. This was probably 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern time, right? We're talking 5-6 hours before kickoff is when the Pete Thamel report came out saying Van Dyke was not going to be playing tonight. And Las Vegas, the people who get paid to get this correct professionally, the line didn't move. It was -3 before that news. It's been -3 for the last week. And then when Tyler Van Dyke was officially announced as not going to be playing, that line did not move an inch. Okay. So I sat there and I was like, Vegas knows something. And Las Vegas knows that Emory Williams is the next Joe Burrow. You heard it here first.
Yo, whatever you're drinking on, bro, I'm drinking with you in November, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's not normal.
Yeah. It's Bud Light and Cuban Man Confidence.
Bro, mute this dude, bro. Mute him now, bro. Take him off the air.
Mike, I'm sorry.
I love it, bro. I love it.
I was gonna say no. I'm just, I'm feeling really good. Emery
I
did
mean,
look
we
good. I
should.
mean, we're sitting there, and I don't want to get out of hand. I'm not trying to over exaggerate and literally say, oh, he's the next Joe Burrow. That's not what I'm actually saying. Of course, I'm exaggerating when I say that, but he looked sharp out there for a true freshman playing against a very, very good defense in his first ever start. We can't really say that we've seen that from a lot of guys in recent times. True freshman. The kid was playing high school football 10 months ago.
Yep. Yeah. It's dude, our true freshmen are really good this year. Like really good.
Yeah.
We just I don't know.
So are we gonna look ahead before we get off?
Yeah.
The show?
Let's talk Virginia. 1-5, 1-5, 2-5.
Canes by 90.
Yeah. Depends. Is Emery playing?
It just depends on what Susan asks in the
Well, she's gonna ask how Emery felt about wearing orange jerseys in a stadium full of Clemson fans, and if that had him shook in his tube socks, right? That's the kind of question that she's going to follow up. After she drops the hammer with the Tyler Van Dyke report, she's going to follow that up with, Emery Williams, how'd you feel about wearing orange jerseys tonight in a stadium full of Clemson fans? Goofy ass.
Dude, I think Susan should heel turn. Susan, if you're watching this, you deserve to dunk on Mario back. So she should ask Mario, what does it feel like to get dunked on by me? I don't know.
So we got Virginia at home, then we traveled to NC State, and then we have the matchup with Florida State and then Louisville. And then we wrap up with Boston College.
Sounds like 5-0 to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
hey,
I mean,
Florida State's really good, but you got to throw out all that stuff when it comes to the rivalry.
You do. I agree with that.
We beat them 52-10, and then they beat us whatever the other score was. They beat us by 42 points, and those were separated by, was it one season or two? I might have that wrong. These games were not that far apart. You got to throw everything out when it comes to the rivalries. Louisville, I think that they got a lot of good wins early. Hey, credit to them for winning the games that you're supposed to win. But Miami does have the superior talent. I think we got Louisville. And then the other ones, I'm just going to say, hey, we're going to beat Virginia. Come on, let's get real here. We should be winning these games.
So realistically, there's an outside shot. There's an outside shot that we can creep in, but we're gonna have to have some magic happen with some other teams dropping some games. And I think the FSU game at this point is a must win. I felt like you needed a win. You needed to beat UNC and Clemson, and then you could lose the FSU at that point. But right now, we're kind of faced in this dilemma of, hey, if we're still chasing this ACC championship berth, which is really the goal, I don't care what season it is, then we're going to have to nab a W at FSU. I don't see it happening per se. Can it happen? Yeah, it's a rivalry game. I've seen us beat them when we weren't supposed to, and I've seen us lose by 40 when we were supposed to beat them. So I'm not going to sit here and just be like, hey, I'm ultra confident that we're going to lose that game. But I like the progression that we have with the freshman QB. I think it gives us a little bit more of a comfort level with TVD kind of injured. I do agree with Petrie that our backup might start next week.
Yeah.
Why not give TVD a little bit more time and see how this kid does versus Virginia?
Van Dyke didn't even dress tonight. He's not playing next week. He didn't even dress tonight. We couldn't even break glass in case of emergency TBD tonight. Yeah. He's not playing next week. Emery will be starting next week. I would bet on that.
Yeah.
So I think the NC State matchup is going to be a good. It's going to be a good measuring stick once again. I think we beat UVA. I think our defense, man, can carry us pretty far this season. But we got to stay on top of the turnovers, man. I think that's killed us tremendously as far as momentum and the chances that we have late in some of these games. You know, if we didn't turn over the ball so many times versus UNC, that late second half surge would have probably meant a little bit more than what it did. So I'm excited, you know, to see how we progress going forward. The next two games are you know, we need to be working hard, man, towards the FSU game, because the FSU game, if we actually do win the next two, is going to mean a lot.
Yeah.
So
We're at NC State, right? It's at NC
Yes.
State.
Yeah.
Correct.
So hopefully, you know, we're prepared for that, you know, and we don't blunder the UVA game. Historically, we give one up to UVA when we least expect to lose to them. And you know, the NC State team has a pretty solid core of a defense too. I don't think they can hang with us offensively. I don't care who starts at QB, but
yeah.
Again, we gotta lean on this defense, man. We leaned on this defense versus Texas A&M. We did it tonight. It's when the defense is kind of lackluster in between how good they can be and kind of shitty. It's when we start losing control and start forcing balls down the field, middle of the field. We're not running very well, and we lose control of the momentum of the game, and then we end up losing them. So this really is a defensive season. Our offense is kind of second place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show that on paper. You know, every time we go into a game, they're like, man, they're averaging 500 yards of total offense a game. It's because the defense is workhorsing us and the offense is on the field so much. Doesn't mean we're scoring the ball, but we're getting yards when it counts. We're running the ball 60 times a game, and Tyler's throwing it, you know, 37 times, and he's getting 350 yards late, but he's still throwing 3 picks. So you know, our opportunities, they have to be consistent for us to keep winning these games, even if it's UVA, because we saw what they did to Drake May, bro, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
now my concern with Virginia, you know, it is that, like, you know, sometimes a team rides a little bit high, you know, big time home win against the big bad wolves of the ACC, Clemson. They've been the big bad wolves of the ACC for the last 10 or so years. So are we going to be going into UVA thinking like, hey, you know, we beat Clemson last week. Hey, we're feeling pretty good, you know? Now, where I feel a little bit more confident is that Emory Williams is better than Drake May.
I love these. I love these short bursts.
I almost missed it.
So let me say this. So when I was making picks this morning, a friend of mine in Charleston, we make picks every week. It's part of this general pool that at the end of the year, if you get the most wins over everybody else in the pool, we get like a cash pot and we'll share it. And he wanted to pick Miami. And internally, I told him, I was like, you know, I just don't see that happening. And this is with me thinking TVD was starting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once he went out, I was like, man, you're tripping, bro. There's no way. Like, I just, whatever. We were down in that game late, and we had the resurge to come back with the field goal and all. Before we even kicked the field goal to tie it, Mikey texted me. He was at work. And he texted me and he said, Miami's going to come back and win this game. And I was like, you're not watching the game. And we came back and won. So I wanted to give a shout out to Mikey, a big UGA lifelong fan, for holding strong on that call that he made for Miami to win. Because usually I rarely ever bet against my team like that, man. But he came up big with that call.
Well, UGA has recently seen success from mediocre white gentlemen at quarterback, right? And so he knows Emory Williams has that dog in him. He has that Georgia Bulldog in him. I'm just messing with you.
Game ball to Mikey.
Yeah.
All right. we should wrap up, guys.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we should.
It's 1 a.m. Eastern.
Mike's getting tired of me and my jokes.
I love it, man.
It's great.
I'm dying inside. Actually, I wish we
Yeah.
can keep going.
It's fantastic. Well, do you guys? So we've talked about everything that I had written down. Is there any last points that either of you would like to discuss?
Well, I think we should leave Petrie out of this because he's made every damn point that he wanted to. You know what I mean? No, man. I gotta say, man. That was a big win. For me, I live in South Carolina, man. Half my family are Clemson fans. I've been up here for 23 years now. I can't stand the university at all, bro. I'm sorry. I went to USC, so it's that's just a bad team for me, man. So they've had our number for most of the years I've been up here, honestly. And anytime we can get a W versus them, bro, it just I'm ecstatic because between the last 3 weeks between the Gamecocks and Miami, bro, if we would have lost this game tonight, bro, my teams would have been 0-6 for the last 3 weeks. So I was not trying to hear that. And then we knock off Clemson, and that was a big win. And I want to wrap it up by saying the team we beat tonight, roster-wise, was supposed to be the best team in the ACC preseason. So they're not slouches, and we need to focus on that achievement going into next week and keep building that block, man, because Miami and Mario be a damn good roster tonight.
Yeah. They took Florida State to the wire. So
I mean, Florida State took Clemson's spot that we all thought Clemson was going to be at. Now, and I'm talking preseason hype, you know what I mean? And then that kind of got shut down week 1 automatically. Everybody forgot about Clemson. Clemson could have easily won the Duke game if they would have not fumbled the ball like they did tonight. And then they could have easily won at Florida State late, and then they kind of blundered in overtime. So they could easily be a top 5 team tonight. Yeah. And technically, if you just take away those mistakes, they're that talented to be 6-0. I don't think we're there yet, but we still beat them. So that is an achievement for Mario, especially after the lackluster performances that he's had the last 2 weeks, and then the knee thing and the bad game at UNC. So that was a big win for Mario in the program, bro. I think we should, hold our heads high for that because a lot of us didn't see that coming.
So you brought up one thing that I do have another hot take question for you guys. So let's say Mario's end of regulation decision making. Let's say that we lose this game in overtime because of that. Didn't give Andy a chance for a field goal at the end. We lose overtime. That'd be 3 weeks in a row that Mario kind of kneecapped this team and 3 straight losses.
And ACC losses at that.
Yeah.
I know we were already on a losing streak with those.
Yeah, and it's like year 2 of a 10-year contract. I have been a proponent that it's like, let's not even bring up coaching changes for the first 4 years because it just ain't happening. But if it's 3 straight weeks of really, really, really bad coaching, do you even have to think about it or not?
As far as his job?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's going to be coach for a while.
Well, I know he will be because we're cheap, but I'm just saying, like, is it fair at that point?
He's not. He's not cheap though.
Yeah.
Not the standard. He's not cheap. He's a top 20 paid coach in the country. It's a private contract, but he's up there.
Well, I mean, like, we're not gonna fire him a year and a half into his deal and pay him $75 million to not work here. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, the hot seat's always going to be there for a team that hasn't won shit for 20 years, and we keep hoping. So I think that's a natural thing. I know a lot of people give us shit for being the type of fans that we are, but we've won before.
Yeah.
It's not until you get to be a fan of a program like me for the school that I went to that's only won one ACC championship, and that was way back in the 60s. They've never won anything in the SEC other than a division title. And you start to see, man, they're still packing out 85, 86,000 at Williams-Brice. We got fans and all that stuff. But our expectation going into every season, bro, is to be mediocre. When you win championships and stuff like the Hurricanes have in the past, 35, 40 years, bro, like the expectation is always going to be there for us to win some games, to be better than our average opponent. So when we're average, when we keep being average and all that stuff, man, I mean, it hurts the fan base, but at the same time, there's a lot of resilience with our fan base as far as, when are we going to take the step up to get to the next level? And Mario, I think at this point, other than the magical Rick season that we had, which was really just lucky, I think that's our closest bet to try to find a foundation for the next decade, bro, as far as like what direction we can take to become relevant again, because we have not been relevant at all. So I don't think there was a better opportunity to bring somebody in like Mario to give that a shot. And I think that if we ride that ass too quickly, bro, we can out him where he quits the job. You never know. I've seen that before across the country, bro. And we need to treat the situation with respect, man, as fans, and give Mario some damn slack.
Yeah. Because
we've been in far worse situations, bro, with coaching. And we tend to forget that because we're overhyping immediate success over the long-term focus, bro, the program. We can't lose that right now. We've got a good thing riding right now, man. Even though we lost the last two games, bro.
Yeah.
The win tonight was resilient enough for me to be like, okay, we're still focused in the locker room. And that means a lot because we've seen last year was hard to watch.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Mario's fault per se, but we still rode his ass for it because he was head coach. But it was tough. And we just need to keep riding that wave, bro. And I think we will. I don't think we're in terrible form at all. So if we would have lost tonight, it would have been a stinger. But like I said, going forward, bro, like fans need to recognize, and they won't because I know how the fan base is, but fans need to recognize, hey, this isn't going to happen overnight. So
yeah, I'm with you. Petrie, thoughts? Anything?
Personally speaking, if we had lost tonight, I wouldn't have even flinched. I mean, the way it went down to the wire. Now, if we would have gotten the doors blown off us, we might have had a different conversation now. But the way it was going down to the end of the wire there in the fourth quarter, if we would have just by way of the ball bouncing a certain way, not ended up winning that game, I truly would not have even flinched. I would have been talking about the safety that should have been. I would have been talking about how the refs really screwed us over. I would have been spinning.
Yeah. And that actually is a good point. Thinking back to the Georgia Tech game is, I hate using
just like how we could have lost these 3 games in a row. We could very easily be 7-0. You could go the same way. The ball is shaped like an egg, right? That's what a lot of football guys say. The ball is shaped like an egg. Sometimes it's going to bounce a funny fucking way.
Yeah. And I hate using officiating as a crutch, but that Georgia Tech, like Don Chaney's elbow was down, unquestionably.
Anybody who says that you can't use refs as an excuse is a dumbass that needs to learn the game.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, I really like that.
There's a reason they talk about the automated strike zone in baseball. It's because you have an opportunity to get the call right 100% of the time. If there was a way to get the call right 100% of the time on the first try in football every single time, we're 7-0 right now. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we beat UNC, but
yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
all right. Listen, and then okay. Let me. Okay, I'll get it this way. That's fine. Let's say we don't beat UNC, right? We're 6-1, and our
Facts.
only loss is a true road game against a top 10 team.
Facts. I'm with that.
People are talking about it completely fucking differently. Completely differently.
And you're right.
Again, assuming you know this is a hypothetical make-believe dream world where every call gets called correctly, never gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And we're 6-1, like you said, with a legitimate loss on the road, top 10 team against probably the number 2, number 3 pick in the draft. And our quarterback has 3 torn ligaments in his hand. So all in all, we're sitting pretty right now, in my opinion. You guys are right. So, but anyways, let's wrap up. It's been an hour and 20 minutes.
I expect that after a W versus Clemson, though. So good job, boys.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Signature win for Mario. I said this before the game. Everybody was like, oh, is it going to be a big deal? I was like, Mario's first ACC win for real like that at home? Come on. Against
Clemson, bro.
The big bad Wolves of the ACC for the last 10 years.
Everybody's writing them off because they have 2 losses, whatever.
Exactly. Everybody can say whatever they want. You know, Florida State's terrific this year, and I'm not going to mince words about that. They're very, very good this year. But Clemson has still been recruiting at a very high clip, and they are still Clemson at the end of the day. So that's a signature win.
Thank you.
So we're sitting here and we're going, hey, you know, funny if we would have kneeled the ball, right? Kneel the ball against Georgia Tech. And you're, what's that now? What am I trying to say? You're 6-1. You kneel the ball against Georgia Tech, and you're 6-1 with quality wins over A&M and Clemson. We're having an entirely different conversation about this team.
Yeah, you're right.
Because of the kneel. Come on.
Yeah,
it's a kneel. Let's get real here.
We need to keep that energy, is what I was saying with my long segment just now about the Mario thing.
That's what I think that the coaches said to the players after the Georgia Tech loss. They're sitting there going like, hey, we played aggressive. We took our shots. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way. Yes, the refs called the fumble on Chaney that shouldn't have been. And yes, you know, the defense gave up the touchdown late. And they're sitting there going like, hey, you guys, there's a difference between getting beaten and losing, right? There's a difference. So I think that the coaches were telling the players that. They took that to Clemson today and showed them what's what with a freshman quarterback who's got pimples on his face, who was worried about high school prom 8 months ago. Hello.
So who do you think is getting more selfies from girls tonight, James Williams or Emory Williams?
Emory, quarterback, gotta be.
Hell yeah,
Let's
bro.
do it. Love it.
Hell yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's the About the Fans post-game show. Make sure you check out aboutthefans.com. We're all wearing swag tonight. Petrie's got the hat. Me and Mike are wearing matching shirts. And, my beautiful hat as well.
Yes, sir.
So everyone, aboutthefans.com. Follow them on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is mostly just this. And, until next week, go Canes.
Go Canes, man. Appreciate it.
Go Canes. Y'all be good.
Yep.
Later, man.